board meeting.
Okay.
Right, so the board did meet previously in closed sessions under exception C1, C2, C10, and C11. I would like to call to order the February 8th, 2022 Waukegan Public Schools Board of Education meeting. If I can have a roll call.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Present.
President Ewing.
Here. So we do have all our board members present. Ms. Hannah is participating remotely due to an acceptable allowance, and so the board has already voted to allow her to participate remotely. And so thank you, Ms. Hannah, for joining us. I always mention Ms. Hannah, whether she is sick or at a conference, has one of the best attendance records on the board, and so we always appreciate her dedication to Waukegan and her commitment to this role. So thank you for joining us, Ms. Hannah.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, and I would like a motion to go into open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay?
Aye.
All right, and first thing on our agenda, I believe, is the Pledge of Allegiance. And because I see our very distinguished previous board member, Ms. McGuire, I'm going to ask if she would lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, liberty and justice for all.
All right, so I thank everybody for coming out this evening. We have our president's report, so I do just have some brief remarks as well as level setting. So just want to touch on very briefly, you've seen this document, but our mission, if we can go down, educating students for the world of tomorrow is our top priority. Through mobilization of the entire community, we will challenge, teach, and inspire our students. We will provide the resources to serve each of our students, expecting excellence from all involved. We will deliver an exciting education in a safe learning environment that celebrates our diversity and similarities in a spirit of unity and respect. We want to keep going down. Our unity of purpose. We affirm the unique role of public education, whereby each community collectively pools its resources for the common good through the education of its students. Therefore, we seek to uphold and improve public education for our community. And you see listed below everything that we as a Board of Education want to achieve. Keep scrolling. We have our behavior expectations. So I start off with the common belief that everyone has good intentions. We want to create a safe environment for the productive exchange of ideas, sincerely listen and seek to understand the viewpoints of others. We want to solve problems through collaboration, and we adhere to our board protocols to hold each other accountable. And then if we want to go down, just some kudos and announcements. So congrats on Valentine's for Veterans. It was another successful event. I'm sure Ms. Leguizamo and maybe even our student board member will speak to that in their remarks, but great turnout, and appreciate them doing this and continuing to do it. Our student business owner board, I don't know what you're calling it, but kudos to our new student board member who, as what is it, the new son put it, is off to a very fast start, unlike most politicians, but she was able to get her first idea accomplished, which was to celebrate our young entrepreneurs who have skills and able to promote those skills to their fellow teachers and students. We have a Black History celebration on 2/25, which will take place at John Lewis Middle School. Super excited for that. And then we have our upcoming vaccine clinics. We still do advise all of those who are able and eligible to get a vaccine. We believe that is the best weapon that we have to combat this pandemic. And so I appreciate the staff and all of those involved who have helped put these together and have helped vaccinate our community. So appreciate that. And then parent to parent. I'm a parent of Waukegan Public School students, and I know it is a very, very challenging time as it relates to mask and not masking and challenges that we've all experienced over the last 2 years and the losses that we've all had to endure. I just want to remind everyone is that at the end of the day, we are better together than we are when we are apart and fighting one another. And so I just hope that we continue to set an example for our students and for our community of what it looks like when we can work together for the betterment of our students. And then just want to thank our board members as well as staff where we are reviewing our policies. And people think all board members, right, Kathy, should be, if they haven't received the email, should be receiving the email related to policy work.
Yes.
Yes. So with that, thank you all for attending and happy Black History Month. So if we can get our agenda back on the screen. We have our special recognition and presentations. So first up is National School Counseling Week proclamation. I don't have a copy of it, so I'm going to ask that we pull it up on the screen. All right, so the National School Counseling Week is February 7th through the 11th. School Counseling Better Together proclamation. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with the teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society, and whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, I, Brandon Ewing, but along with the Board of Education, do hereby proclaim February 7th through 11th, 2022 as National School Counseling Week. So we were requested to read that and proclaim and celebrate our school counselors. We appreciate all the work that they do and the contributions that they make in our public schools. Next up, 7B, we have the swearing in of our Ethics Commission members. So Superintendent, if you want to read the actual recommended action.
Yes. It is the recommendation that the Board of Education approve the recommended appointments of Ms. June McGuire and Ms. Enity Rivera to the Ethics Commission for terms through November 30th, 2023.
Mr.
I
Riddle.
so move.
So we got a motion by Ms. Hannah and a second by Mr. Riddle. All right, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, so the motion carries. I do want to recognize Ms. McGuire, who is in the audience and will sit on the committee. If you'd like to say anything, Ms. McGuire, we got the microphone right over there. Yes, ma'am. Now that we're recording live, that helps people who are online here.
This is, Ms. McGuire, is this your third term that you're appointed to at this point? You came in midway, as I recall, to a term, and then you then served a full term, so now this would be your third term, I believe.
I have a hard time hearing what you're saying.
All right. I'm going to take my mask off and see if that will help. I just want to confirm my memory is correct, that we are appointing you now to your third term
Yes.
with us, and she took the official oath the first time. We're going to ask her to take the oath again. If you could just repeat after me. I, June McGuire,
I, June McGuire,
having been appointed to the position
having been appointed to the position
of member of the Ethics Commission Community Unit School District Number 60,
member of the Ethics Commission of Unit Community Unit School District Number 60
in the city of Waukegan, Illinois,
in the city of Waukegan, Illinois,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of member of the Ethics Commission
of member of the Ethics Commission
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
and the laws of the State of Illinois,
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. We're delighted to have you continue as a member of our Ethics Commission.
Thank you. I'd like to just add, if there's anything that the board or the school district sees that I can help them in any way, I'm available to help in any way that I can. I was born in Waukegan and lived here all my life, and I'm willing to help wherever I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. Ms. Rivera will be joining us another day in order to do her oath, but and sorry, Ms. Hannah, we're getting a little bit of feedback.
I'm available to help in any way.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire, for your service, and Ms. Rivera, who will be joining us at a later date. So next up is our opportunity for public comment. This is the opportunity for the public to address the Board of Education. Each person is able to get 3 minutes. If you need translation services will be provided to you, and you will get an additional 3 minutes for a total of 6 minutes to allow for translation. We do ask that you refrain from using student or staff names in your remarks. As I call your name, please come up to the microphone and just wait for the microphone to be sanitized before you start speaking or remove your mask. The first name on the list is Ray Vukovich. And Mr. Vukovich, whenever you're ready, your time will start.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to talk to you tonight about a four-letter word. It's not a bad word, but it is a word that happens to be 4 letters. And those 4 letters make up this word that we need in our lives. It actually has multiple meanings, and it's something that's important. And that word is sign, S-I-G-N. Now, I was delighted tonight because I was going to talk about, we don't have it here, but I could see that recently there were some signs installed in front of this building that say visitor parking. This building is extremely visitor unfriendly. Now just picture yourself, pretend you've never been here, you're coming here to apply for a job, or you just moved into town and somebody said that's where you go, that's the school administration building, and you drive up and you look and say, I think that's the front door. Well, up until a few days ago or whatever, every sign said reserved or handicapped, and you end up way out here and you drive past a door and it's locked. Now, you could put a sign that says main entrance with an arrow. Then there's another door in the front. You could put a sign, main entrance with an arrow. Make it a little more friendly for people when they come to this facility. Another situation, and I've brought this up privately to the board president in the past. The district owns a parking lot across from Washington campus. There's a sign up there. It says visitor parking only, District 60. You go by there right now, there's at least 2 tow trucks and a dozen cars there, and I can guarantee you they're not over at Washington campus. Somebody should be doing their job and making sure that that lot isn't used. You go by Sunday or Saturday, same cars are there, they don't move. So you gotta take care of the signs that you have. You spend tens of thousands of dollars on signs throughout the school district. Make sure that they have accurate information and that they're working. And the last definition of sign is when we sign a contract or a check. And it kind of was disappointing. I saw the article in the paper about the young lady who was taking it upon herself to teach kids at the library cursive. This is something this district should be able to do. When they graduate from high school, they should be able to sign their name in cursive. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovich. Next name on the list says Margot, so I said Marge Killing.
Good evening, Board of Education, Ms. Placencia, and the Cabinet. As a union member, I would like to thank Ms. Placencia for her walking tour in support of the high school, through her visits and work with some of the students. I would like to thank you for being a leader with the COVID precautions and protecting and keeping our students and staff safe. I would like to also acknowledge that you have recently raised the pay for the outside substitutes. Unfortunately, District 60's full-time teachers have still not seen the appreciation that was promised to teachers when the board gave the hardworking administration extra vacation days over winter break. Many teachers are feeling slighted that their efforts at covering the 70 to 80% of the classes that are not covered by the day-to-day subs have not been acknowledged or remunerated in a similar raise. I understand that on an average day, Waukegan schools are short approximately 80 substitutes in the high school and 80 more throughout the district. These shortages are covered by teachers on their lunches, their planned periods, or doubling up and taking 2 classes at once. Morale is low, teachers are tired. COVID has worn on us all. We are short substitutes everywhere, nationwide. Imagine you're home and all of a sudden you have twice the number of children to entertain, feed, and take care of. After months, it becomes exhausting, but our teachers continue this. So how do we solve it? I propose that every administrator be asked to substitute 1 day a week, so teachers throughout the district know that administration are with us on this, that the administration understands the day-to-day discipline, the health, and the stress that we are dealing with. We're not asking administration to write lesson plans, grade papers, contact parents, follow up with referrals, worry about test scores. We're not asking them to attend meetings, change bulletin boards, or any of the 100 of other tasks that our teachers perform on a daily basis. We're asking the administration to spend 5 hours a day, once a week, with our students that need compassionate, caring adults to keep them safe until this national crisis is over. If you think that I'm exaggerating the low morale, the burnout, and the need for immediate action, let me give you a little data. I'm aware that 2 teachers have resigned this week. It's Tuesday, guys. We're in a crisis. We need you to get with us. Finally, please remember that we have a contract. Please remember and remind your administration not to threaten people with the contract when they stand up for it. Threatening people with the contract is a clear violation of federal labor laws and considered an unfair labor practice. Thank you, and thanks so much. And Mr. Vukovich, we need new furniture
Thank
in
you, Ms.
HR.
Scanlon.
Thank you.
Next name on the list is Rayon Edwards.
Good evening, everybody. I was really hoping she would have stayed so she could have heard this, because I'm back again. What have changed in these schools? Absolutely nothing. The fighting is still going on, and it's worse than it's been. So I'm trying to understand if we can stop playing politics just for a little while. For you administration to sit down with these teachers and see what these teachers need. Y'all sit here, y'all not dealing with the day-to-day. When I look at other districts, they wouldn't be tolerating half of what we tolerating in this school district right now, at all. It's time, hey man, listen, it's time to tear these shoes up. We got to do something. We're not doing nothing. And for us to say that these teachers is overworking, I don't see how. We got 6 to 9 classrooms sitting in an auditorium a day. Where they working at? I don't know if anybody is in the real world or in the real life, but if you're not in this community, you're not going to understand half of these kids in this community. That's a problem. But it's the adults that is causing the biggest problem because we can't sit down and work together for nothing. Them teachers over there, they is tired. They tired of the disrespect, the abuse, day to day. And we're not doing nothing because we don't want to kick the kids out because we don't want to make somebody else mad. We know discipline starts at home. It's time to start making them stay at home with their mamas until they get right. Because we're not paying those teachers to deal with that. We're paying them to teach. So if you got 4 kids in a classroom of 30 that's causing the disruption, that teacher can't teach. Respectfully to the administration of y'all is making a lot of money, baby. And I'm going to say that. And respectfully, I know you got a lot of work to do, but you're not doing half of the work of those teachers. I'm sorry, I feel like that. They take it too much and you making too much. And they make it too little. We need to look at that. And I'm going to say this before I sit down. We need a student performance audit going on here. We need somebody to come up in here and look at what we're doing and what we ain't doing and what we need to be doing. Because if the adults can sit down and stop fighting and arguing and playing politics, and we start agreeing to disagree respectfully, and stop spending so much time on what we disagree on, and let's build from what we agree on, and hopefully we can get through the disagreements. When we adults doing this, them kids are suffering, y'all. It's not gonna get better. It's gonna get worse. And it's spilling over into the community. We got to do better. And it's something else you guys need to look at. I thought it was working well. We need to bring the houses back on the table. We need to talk about that. Let's stop accommodating these parents because these parents is not accommodating these teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. All right, this concludes our public comment. We do appreciate everybody who came out and spoke. All right, so back with the agenda, we have our consent agenda. As a reminder, the items that are placed on the consent agenda should be routine in nature and or non-controversial. Any board member can ask that any item be held over for any reason. These are placed here in order to help expedite the work of the board as well as our meetings. The information is there. With that, would any board member like to hold over any item? If not, I would like to approve the consent agenda items 10 through 8, 8 through H.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Leguizamo,
Second.
second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Items approved, motion carries. I will read those just for the record. 10A, attendance at 2022 National Schools Public Relations Association's National Seminar. B, formal appointment of Joanna Gutierrez as 2022 student board member. C, approval to attend crisis prevention intervention apps ICP with trauma blend CPI training. D, approval of agility recovery contract renewal. E, approval of facility rental waiver request for Project Alpha. F, renewal of EAB District Leadership Forum Partnership. G, approval to attend National ESEA Conference. And H, renewal of Aubrey Family and Community Engagement Solution. We are now at item 11A, approval of Illinois Central School Bus Company's contract extension for 1 year, fiscal year 2020, financial year, fiscal year 22-23.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education approve and authorize the superintendent to sign the associated contract extension document with Illinois Central.
Mr. Riddle, I so move. We approve the motion as read by the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion?
We need more bus drivers.
She says we need more bus drivers, but this is, if I'm not mistaken, it's just for the public. I do believe this was already asked by the board and confirmed, but this will be the last and final contract extension that we're eligible to do before we have to go out to bid. Is that correct? Mr. Deputy Moden is shaking his head in the back. You don't have to, for those who are up here or are watching online. So with that, if there are no further questions, roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Motion carries. Item approved. We're now at 12A, which is personnel for 2/8/22.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments, leaves of absence, and accept the resignations, retirements as found on schedules F972, L919, G630, and N771.
Mr. Riddle, I make a motion, we approve the recommended action of the superintendent.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. So we have a few administrative appointments that we'd like to recognize at this moment.
At this time, I'd like to welcome Mary Maloney. Oh, how do you pronounce your? Owine. Okay, Owine, who previously served as an EL coordinator in Wheeling, Illinois. She will now serve as the coordinator of bilingual 9 through 12 here at Lincoln Center with a starting salary of $93,000. Welcome. At this time, I'd like to welcome and congratulations Roberto Ochoa Barajas, who previously served as the supervisor of maintenance. He will now serve as the assistant director of operations. He is a Waukegan alumni at the starting salary of $80,000. Congratulations. Jennifer Ellen, who currently was serving as the assistant principal at Whittier Elementary School, will now serve as the interim principal at Whittier Elementary School with the starting salary of $87,000. Congratulations, Miss Ellen. Oh, there she is. I didn't see her. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you all and welcome to Waukegan and congratulations to those who have received promotions. All right, we are now at our 15A ratification of the first processing of board bills for February 22 and manual check request payments. First Midwest insurance payments for the period of January 19th, 2022 through February 1st, 2022.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the first processing of board bills for February 2022 and manual check request payments and First Midwest insurance payment for the period of January 19, 2023 through February 1st, 2022. The Accounts Payable Board, January 19, 2022 through February 1st, 2022, payments total $3,206,527.83. The manual check request payments for the period of January 19, 2022 through February 1st, 2022 total through $3,104,045.20. The First Midwest insurance payments for the period of January 19, 2022 through February 1st, 2022 total $0.
Mr. Riddle, I make a motion that we approve the recommended action as read by the superintendent.
Motion by
I
Mr. Riddle,
I second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We are now at our reports and presentations. So first up, we have our committee reports. Any committee reports at this time?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
I just want to remind people that if you want to be a part of the PTEC, we have the behavior and Behavior and Conduct Subcommittee this Thursday, 6 to 7. And next week is the General PTAC meeting from 6 to 7 as well. You can meet at the Welcome Center with Mr. Christensen, but also virtually. And what else? Oh, I know that the subcommittee for the our graduation policy, which I'm a part of, met yesterday. I couldn't meet yesterday with them, but I know that the subcommittees for the Equity Advisory Council are still underway, and they're doing really good work. So at the end of the month, they should be coming to the board with some updates, and that's it.
Just to add on in regards to the PTAC and the behavioral subcommittee, we're currently also working on making updates to the parent and student handbook. So if you are on a parent Facebook page, I put it out there in the parent Facebook page. I will put it on my own Facebook page as well. Just to kind of engage a little bit more community members in regards to any sort of updates or suggestions that you have on this parent-student handbook. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, student board.
I have a committee.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Anna.
Yeah, our discipline committee met on the 1st. It was an introduction meeting, actually, and there's a distinguished group of people that are on the committee, and our next committee meeting will be tomorrow at 11 a.m., and it will be virtual.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. Awesome. So, and again, we look forward to the recommendations that are forthcoming from those committees so that the board can act and receive further information. So we appreciate your service on those committees. 16B, we have our student board member report. And it's up to you, but one of the things that we do get requested so that the audience as well as the camera can see you is that if when you give your remarks, you could please stand. And you can take the microphone. It's up to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the new student board member, for those of you who may not know. I'm very excited for this new opportunity, and I wanted to take the time to thank everyone who showed up for Valentine's for Vets. It was very successful, and I enjoyed it, had fun. I wanted to use the time also to give an update on the entrepreneur wall. I have spoken to Mr. Hill, and it's been approved, and we've been working on details. So thank you, Mr. Hill, for being such a good hand that I have. Another thing was I mentioned motivational videos for the students to watch every other week to self-reflect and set goals for themselves. This would be for mostly middle schools and high schools. I will be trying this for the high school first and move on forward. And another thing is I will be going to Clark Elementary School this Thursday to talk to the 4th and 5th graders about work ethics and setting goals to prepare for middle school and high schools. I'll also be talking to the kindergartners and the 1st graders, just, asking questions on what they like about their school and what they don't, and reading a book to them and just spending time with them and seeing how things are going. This project will be ongoing, so I will be having this test run for Clark Elementary first and move on to other schools if I feel like it was successful. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Nice.
And I've said it multiple times, but it's always interesting and exciting that as we now have, it's our fifth
Yes.
student board members, that they each come in, embrace the role, and take it to different directions and expand the reach. So we appreciate your efforts. Next up is 16C delegates report. Ms. Hannah, do you have a delegates report at this time?
No actual report However, there are a number of webinars that that are being offered to board members, and they have been sent the information.
Thank you
And
for
they
that.
are they qualify for master board member and leadership points.
Thank you for that reminder, Ms. Hannah. Next up is 16D, Superintendent's Report.
At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Alajakis, Mr. Moulton is going to present. Changed it up on me?
Yes, ma'am. Next best thing. Good evening. Good evening, members of the board, superintendent, staff, and community. So we just wanted to provide a brief update. Do I need to pause for?
Ms. Hannah, you there?
Yes, that was me.
Great, thank you. So we just wanted to provide a brief update on the district's ongoing efforts to get our community vaccinated. We've recently advertised some events to expand those efforts, and we are partnering with the Department of Public Health as well as IEMA to continue those ongoing efforts at some of our sites. And I'm going to ask Mr. White if he can go. So we just wanted to show these are 5 of the locations where we're currently providing vaccination options for the community. We had our first clinic this past Saturday at McCall Elementary and Abbott Middle School. And you can see we're going through succession. We're going to have another clinic this Thursday evening at Little Fort. And then at Clearview and Lion Magnet, we're going to have another first dose clinic this coming Saturday. Now these are register by appointment or walk-in. We are not turning anybody away. Anybody over the age of 5 can come to these clinics. Next slide, please. So we've done several forms of communication throughout this process: social media, text message, email communication. We've also had a newspaper article written about these clinics. We also have unique flyers that Illinois Emergency Management Agency developed for us that we gave to the host sites. And we asked those host sites to partner with neighboring school districts that were interested in having a clinic as well, to kind of push that communication directly to their parents and their staff. These are going to be ongoing. We're going to have reminders go out tomorrow for the Thursday evening clinic, and then again on Friday for the Saturday clinic. Next slide, please. So just a little recap on what we saw this past Saturday at Abbott and McCall. We had a total of 178 doses administered. About 50 of those were pediatric. Again, we're just trying to reach as many people as we can. It's not thousands of people with these numbers, but it is something. We also offered, and we did this with our communication, prepackaged meals for any individuals who wanted them that came to the site. So we gave out 190 prepackaged meals, and we want to thank Preferred Meals for their partnership on that. We also distributed several masks and individual bottles of sanitizer for individuals that came forward. And we had representatives from the Lake County Department of Public Health who gave brochures about some of their other program offerings. They also gave out children's books and N95 masks to anybody who wanted them who came to these 2 sites. And we will continue that with the clinic on Thursday and the 2 clinics on Saturday. Next slide. And then we just wanted to show again the QR codes for the registration. Obviously we're encouraging pre-registration, but again, we're not turning anybody away. The administration at the host sites have been great to work with, and they've really responded to the call to make sure that we open our doors to the community in this regard. So we did want to provide this update to the board and the community, and we will continue these efforts even after these clinics are concluded so that we can do what's in the best interest of the city of Waukegan and our district. And that was the update.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, wow. Good job.
Thank you. And then I do know that the board does receive the attendance reports and everything, and I know you all may not be prepared, but I would at least like us at one meeting, since we have the public as well as those who are watching online, just so we are being transparent with that data. So I do want the public to know that the board does get them in weekly reports, and that used to be a standard. Due to the length of our meetings, sometimes when there are other reports, we've held them, but I do believe that at least once a month, we should be making sure that that data is presented and present. So I did want to state that publicly. Next on the list is our information items, which is the destruction of outdated Chromebooks and copiers. It's there for information. Any questions on that?
Does that include like the iPads and so forth?
Dr. Cuevas is in the back of the room.
Yes, Ms. Hannah, that one does include that section there.
Is that from Mr. Cuevas?
He's coming.
Dr. Cuevas?
He was walking to the microphone. Go ahead, Dr. Cuevas.
Good evening. That agenda item, it covers outdated Chromebooks that we have at the Armory and also copiers. So when any iPads that we need to destroy, basically they're not included in this. This is specific for Chromebooks and copiers.
Did you hear that response, Ms. Hannah?
Yeah, kind of. It was a little low.
So I can repeat myself. So it's very specific. This agenda item is only for Chromebooks and for copiers. We're not destroying any iPads.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cuevas. Next up is 17B, which is our COVID health safety policy. This is a first reading. So again, that has been presented. I'm going to ask for the board to give Kathy time. If you have any recommendations, suggested changes, concerns, if you have those, you can bring them out now. But I would also like that they be to Kathy by Friday. Is there any question at this time? Go ahead, Ms. Leguizamo.
A question for you, Ms. Vanderbroek. Does it indicate anywhere in our policies, I don't believe it's in this policy because I didn't see it there, but in other policies that describe what is an outbreak? I know we talk about that here in this policy, but just trying to understand, is there somewhere where it is defined for the public?
So we have not defined it in a policy document, to the best of my knowledge. Is Mr. Alajakis still here? I do believe, have we sent something around to staff?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Leguizamo, because I asked that question as well. What was the definition of an outbreak?
I don't believe anything has gone out since the most recent definition that Ms. Dobbs defined for us. I think she was here 2 weeks ago or so. No, that definition has not been defined to staff.
And I will say part of why we have not defined it in the policy itself is because the definition has shifted over time. And so if we were defining it in the policy itself as public health modified, their approach to what constitutes an outbreak, we'd be having to update the policy. However, if that is a recommendation of the board to include in the policy, we certainly can do that.
I hate to put something in writing that's a moving target. Let me think about that a little bit more. If anybody has any other feedback in regards to including the outbreak definition in this policy. Not at this moment. So that was one of the questions. The other question that I had, it talked a little bit, I'm trying to see if I can find the specific language, but it talked about upon students' return, the type of testing that is required for the return. Now, did we define in any other policy what those qualified testing results are that we require for return?
So we have shared that information periodically. We are working on a very clear document that we hope to have finalized by the end of the week that will identify what that documentation is. For a little explanation, part of the initiative is to reduce the burden on parents and staff in returning after a period of isolation or quarantine due to COVID and when you've been out of school, rather than our typical policy of requiring a medical clearance by a healthcare provider, looking at being able to rely on valid test results and what information needs to be in that result for us to be able to calculate and ensure that it is safe for you to come back at the point in time that you come back, rather than having to reach out to your healthcare provider to get that separate notice. So we're trying to make it a smoother process with one less barrier for parents and staff to come back at the end of the time that they are to be home, and so they are no longer as the risk to the district and others.
Okay. So just kind of going back a little bit into the outbreak definition, and we're not using that definition from another organization. We're creating our own definition, right? In guidance of other types of.
We are using the definition of outbreak that Illinois Department of Public Health has as related to the schools, because we are required to consult with them as to how to manage an outbreak in the buildings. So that's been a long-standing practice.
Could it be recommended that instead of us defining it in our own policies, because it is a moving target, that maybe we can say as defined by like the Illinois Department of Health, et cetera, just as a recommendation?
Sure. We'll look at that.
Okay. I don't know how the other board members feel about that addition or clarification on this policy.
Yeah, I think one of the things is to kind of get it out there and then give them the opportunity to, weigh in. So I don't know if they're prepared this evening. I do know that the question that I had is we've been waiting on, and when I was reviewing the policy, unless I missed it, we were waiting on reducing our quarantine time period from its current 10 days to reflect the 5-day period, which is now recommended by the CDC. This policy does not address that. Would this be one that would we want to include that in, or superintendent, are we planning to? I know we said that by the end of the month. That was in January. We're now in February. And so I do know that the 5-day waiting period was adopted by CPS as well as other school districts throughout Lake County. So I didn't know where we were to date.
Yes, it has been the recommendation of the COVID-19 team that we do start to implement the 5-day quarantine. But what is the status of the rollout of that, Nick? I know there was some discussion on that, so go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. And Ms. Vanderbroek or Mr. Moulton or anyone else on the team, if you want to chime in, please do. This has been discussed by our COVID planning team in our weekly meetings now several weeks in a row in lengthy discussions. And right now, I believe is it this week, Catherine, Ms. Vanderbroek, with the principals that we hope to kind of begin finalizing some of those details, because the 5 days, so the way it's written and the way it's stated is if a student does come back from quarantine or if they tested positive after 5 days, there's certain rules that need to be followed in terms of masking and if they're going to not have a mask on in areas such as while eating or in other parts of the school day. And so that's kind of what we're working through. And Ms. Vandenberg, if there's anything else you want to add.
Yes, it is this Thursday that we will be having that more in-depth conversation with our principals. We introduced the idea to them briefly last week so they could think about it. So we do hope to finalize that. We have been, since the CDC changed their position, our pandemic team has been, kind of looking at that question every week based on where we are with our numbers in the community and what the implications are. So we will be revisiting that again this week as well.
Ms. Wozniak, I see your hand.
I've read that there's several testing companies that are not doing adequate testing protocols, and they're not qualified, and that some of them have been shut down. Do we have anything in our statement about what is a qualified PCR test?
So we don't have what's a qualified PCR test. I have to admit I haven't thought of that as something that we might need to do. We can take that back as to Ms. Dobbs and get her input on that. We have, based on what we've seen in the newspaper articles, we have confirmed that those individuals and entities that have been identified in the news are not the entities that we are using, but that does not mean that all entities, as the papers have made clear, struggled with the surge in January. But we are and have been working with those communities and entities and looking at that testing piece as we are preparing for the student rollout piece.
Thank you. So I do think that that was good discussion. I know what the 5 days is one that we continually hear from parents is because we know is close contact is something that causes students to miss in-seat time, right? And so as much as we can do in order to reduce that out of school time, the better impact it is. So I thank you that you all are looking at that and would like to get an update kind of as soon as we are ready to roll that out. And obviously we all are following the court case, and the superintendent put out a statement which went on social media as well as to the community related to the ruling that happened in downstate Illinois. So that is not impacting our policy at this time, but it can be if board members feel a certain way. Boards have taken that question up. I do know is that as we look at that 5 days, one of the things that we continue to hear from parents is the timeliness of the reporting, right? Is especially if we're reducing the amount of time that they're out of school, then we have to be more responsive in the notification and the timeline that we're meeting. So I do know as we look at this, even if the idea of bringing in more contact tracers, if we needed to, if that was something that the team was recommending, if we are seeing, thank goodness, knock on wood, we've started to see a reduction in the community and we've slowed the spread. But again, this is the new way of life and there's going to be ebbs and flows and other variants. So I want us to be as prepared as possible as we continue to move through this pandemic. But again, policy changes, recommendations, anything that you want to put on the table to be introduced into a second reading, I would ask that you send those to Kathy and CC me.
Thank you.
All right. Nothing that was listed under old or new business. We have our legal reports, which just is the FOIA report, which was there for information.
Mr. President.
Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
I just wanted to follow up on the proposal that I had put forth regarding giving the students the incentive for getting vaccination, the vaccinations, and I'm going to say that the numbers that Mr. Moten talked about earlier, I must say that maybe that kind of contributed to those high numbers.
Yeah, so I think right now, Ms. Hannah, we asked or requested additional data that is not being presented tonight, but will be discussed as student achievement. The things that the board asked was how much do we kind of have a basis for how many of our students are currently vaccinated, or a way for students to self-report. So we did give that communication to administration. It's not on tonight's agenda, but it will be coming up at a future meeting, and not 2 months from now, this month.
Okay, and are we on old business, sir? I just got a couple things. I'm really concerned, and I have spoke with Deputy Moten regarding this, but just to make the board aware of, in my opinion, the unsafe conditions at the Brookside campus on Monroe Street. There's a lot of foot traffic of students being dropped off for school, the buses over there, parents dropping off students, and it really is just really unsafe for the students, and I just really hope that that there's some kind of planning to look at and review where the students are being allowed to enter into the building instead of the back of the building on the front of the building.
So I just want to make sure I capture your question, Ms. Hannah. You're asking that they have a plan, or you're concerned about Monroe Street parking and drop off?
Yes, yes, and I personally was there one morning because I dropped off my granddaughter for school over there, and it was very congested with, like I said, students, the buses, the parents dropping off students, and students walking.
So I know, Ms. Hannah.
It's just unsafe.
Yeah, so I know they did reconfigure that, and so the superintendent has captured that request, and will definitely get information out to you as well as the board.
Can I just ask for quick clarification? Is that Monroe Street on our property or Monroe Street out of our property? Like in the residential
On
area?
our property.
On our property. Okay.
Yes, it's right back behind the Brookside campus.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. All right, so we are now going down, so we have our FOIA report, which was there for information. And again, I do want to remind the board, if there is an item that we want to address at a meeting, either old business that you feel like hasn't been addressed or new business, you can always contact me up to the Thursday before, with me and Nick review the agenda, so that way if there is information that's needed, they're prepared to present on it. So that's to the entire board, because I want to make sure that we are being transparent and that I'm bringing those things back up. So next up is our board member time. I made a commitment, Board of Education, that I would get us out of here by 8 o'clock. It is 7:58. Whether we are out of here at 8 o'clock or not is not up to me. It is up to you. And so I'm going to start. I'll start this way this week. Ms. Gonzalez.
Thanks everyone for being here, for being on our committees. Thank you to all of our teachers and staff. I want to give a huge shout out to my grandma who got her booster shot on Sunday. I didn't even have to ask her. She asked me, and I said, of course I'm going to book that appointment. And I hope everyone has a beautiful weekend for Valentine's Day or anything that we're celebrating today, Black History Month. Yeah, just staying positive during this time.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes, again, thank you to everybody who's here and everybody who supports our district, our teachers, and everyone else. And I was pleased to see those numbers at the last vaccination clinic, and you have the list, and keep on coming. That's going to help all of us stay in school. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. McBride.
I want to say to our new student board member, everything you said didn't fall on deaf ears. When you get ready to go to those schools to talk to those kindergartens, include me. I want to go with you. I got some puppets to help you make it work.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. Ms. Leguizamo.
Everybody has already said everything I need to say. Just wanted to once again just reiterate thanks to all of the students that came out for the Valentine's for Veterans. There's so many cars that they're still counting it, till up to today. So they will be delivering it on Thursday to the Veterans Closet in North Chicago. Really excited. I think we heard a few elementary schools had gotten all grades to participate. I mean, it's really amazing. Really, next year it's going to occur again each year. If you have the opportunity to participate in this event, it's a well-run event by our JROTC students. So thanks again to them, and then have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Ms. Wazir.
We're going right down.
I wanted to announce that the Waukegan Schools Foundation has announced it's going to have two $3,000 scholarships this year. It's out on Facebook. Nick was going to send out a mass email to all seniors so that they have access to it. So get your kids out there to apply. The deadline is March 15th. We're also announcing from the foundation that we're bringing back the teachers' grants. They will, we're going to roll them out at the end of this year, but the applications are due at the beginning of the fall season, just in case, you know, there's some, you don't know what classroom you're going to be servicing, so you can gear it towards your children. And Valentine's for Vets was a great event, as well as Law and Order Fairy Tale Unit, the high school play. You come out and see the kids do some wonderful things.
Thank you. Ms. Hannah?
Yeah, just for a small correction regarding the discipline committee, it actually is Thursday, and it's at 10 a.m. and it is virtual. And then I also want to give a shout out to the first basketball team. I'm hoping that we win tonight, and to the other athletes that are making that are winning all over the place. We have some athletes that we do need to acknowledge, and so I'll talk more about that at the student achievement meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. And just to avoid confusion, you are looking at, it's the discipline, is it policy, right? Not the actual part of PTAC. I want to make sure that people understand the difference.
Yes, it's the policy.
Thank you. Ms. Let's do student board member. If you want to give any board member remarks. No. Awesome. I do want to very briefly, because it's 8:03, so I blew my own time, but I hope that you all forgive me. I forgot to mention this during during the board president's report, but the entire board received a letter from a constituent, and it's from a retired teacher. And what he said is he'd love to have an ID that he can use, which showed him as a retired educator. So he's proud of his service to Waukegan Public Schools and thought it would be nice to have a memento that he could keep with him, similar to the way that a retired Waukegan police officer has a badge, retired ID. And so that is one that Mr. Carpenter asked for, and I think that we'll be able to make that happen for Mr. Carpenter and those who would be interested. So the board did receive that letter. I'm going to make sure that I reach out and thank Mr. Carpenter. And I know the entire board received it, so if that's something that we can work with administration in order to make happen. With that, I would like for a motion to adjourn.
I motion.
Motion by Mr. McBride, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned.